Welcome back, trainers. Chidori here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over my Sinister Cup that I won 3-1. So the team that I use is going to be Poliwrath, a little spice pick with Spark, Thunderbolt, and Rock Slide. I like Poliwrath for certain scenarios where your opponent's running a lot of Ghost, and maybe Empoleon and Poliwrath is a little surprise factor of those electric type moves. Dusclops as a safe switch, as most people know. The Hex variant for good energy gains and against the fighters. I like Metacham, counter Psychic, Power Up Punch to ramp up the counter damages. Really good against the tanks, and the Psychic is good against other fighters. Alola Marowak with the Fire Spin variant. I used him mainly because he's good against Steelix and has a chance. He's also a really good Ghost to use. Poliwrath with Bubble, Dynamic Punch, and Ice Punch. Dynamic Punch for more damage, and Ice Punch against Drifblim and all those other Pokemon weak to Ice, like Lugia. Steelix, Dragon Tail, Crunch, and Earthquake. First matchup, Satom 0714, Drifblim, Empoleon, Poliwrath, Marowak, Alola Marowak, Claydol, Steelix. I see that as team relatively weak to Poliwrath, so I decided to lead with that. Alola Marowak, not a bad matchup. I do have to watch out for those Shadow Balls. But I decided to throw Ice Punch to do some chip damage. Not going to be super effective. He switches out to Claydol. I do decide to throw Ice Punch right away, trying to do super effective damage. He decides to shield. I immediately switch into Dusclops. He is going to do a Psychic here. He'll do a good amount of damage. I'm going to throw a Shadow Punch for some super effective damage. And I'm going to throw another Shadow Punch here. Dusclops is really nice. I love getting to his charge moves really quick. Puts pressures on people's shields. As you can see, he did not have to use Psychic on me. One more confusion would have done the answer. So now that I know his energy is all emptied out, I'm gonna go with Poliwrath in, but he decides to switch out really quick into Alola Marowak, having a Shadow Ball banked. I decided to throw out the shield. And I'm gonna... I don't know why I hit Dynamic Punch. I should have done the Ice Punch to conserve some energy. Down goes the Claydol, and Empoleon comes out, and I'm gonna throw Dynamic Punch to finish off the match. Empoleon is super squishy. This was the first time I actually used Dynamic Punch on Empoleon. It rather surprised me. Apparently I'm going too fast and sitting in the library, so don't know why that popped up. Kind of weird that they have that. So here is going to be game number 2. I believe I'm going to lead with Poliwrath again. Poliwrath is a super nice lead against his team. Against Drifblim, with Poliwrath mirror match, Empoleon, not bad against Alola Marowak, really good against Steelix, and then Ice Punch is super effective against Claydol. Does get to it fast, and I can also switch out. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the same team. Poliwrath versus Poliwrath, which is fine. Gonna charge up to Dynamic Punch, and he's gonna get to his Dynamic Punch first. I'm not gonna shield. Gonna throw the Dynamic Punch right back, and he's gonna decide to shield. Here he gets to another charge move. I'm gonna shield it so I can throw my Dynamic Punch. And this is gonna do a hefty amount of damage to him if he decides not to shield. He does decide not to shield. I'm gonna immediately switch into Dusclops as my safe switch and catch a charge move so I don't have to spend a shield. And he switches into Steelix, which is perfectly fine. I have the Fire Punch pretty quick. And it's going to be doing super effective damage, but not too much. He is going to get to the Crunch, which is perfectly fine. Dusclops can take a Crunch. And I'm going to be throwing a Fire Punch. He decides to shield. I love Dusclops for putting pressure on Steelix users. So both shields are down on his end. I have one shield and two Pokemon. And I'm not able to get to the Dynamic Punch, unfortunately. I shouldn't have shielded here. This is what cost me this game. I thought it was going to be an Earthquake. Here comes the Earthquake now. I farm up a little energy and I throw the Crunch. And unfortunately he's gonna delete me with the bubbles from his Poliwrath. Alright, so we go into game number 3. Game number 3, I'm gonna try something different, I believe. I'm gonna lead with Medicham, Poliwrath. I believe I use Steelix in the back. Oh, Alola Marowak? Okay. The double fighter and Alola Marowak. Let's see how we do. So Medicham into Claydol, which is relatively not bad. I do want to switch out. These Confusions are going to do neutral damage. I'm just going to go straight for the Psychic, trying to do as much chip damage as I can. It's not going to be super effective, and I immediately switch into Alolan Marowak. Here comes an Earth Power, so I'm going to throw up a shield. And in comes his Steelix. The Earth Power did lower my defense. I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball, which he just decided to shield. I'm gonna take the Crunch. I don't want to expend a shield, and also I have double fighters in the back, which is perfectly fine. I'm just gonna send in my Medicham after waiting for a switch clock a little. And Medicham is just gonna pound away the Steelix. Gonna get to the Power Up Punch, boosting my counter damage, ramping it up. I'm gonna counter down the Steelix before it makes a charge move go off. So now I have 2 Pokemon, 1 shield against his 2 Pokemon, 1 shield. Not looking too bad. I'm gonna bait him with a Power Up Punch. I probably had enough counters for him to know that I had a Psychic ready. And I do get the shield, which is good. And I decided to throw out my shield here. And for some reason I panic switch. I should have threw the Psychic here, but either way I won this match. I do throw the Dynamic Punch into his Claydol, which is a really good switch on his end. And I'm able to just bubble down the Claydol, even though these Confusions are doing a lot of damage to me. And he has a Dynamic Punch banked in. I thought this was going to take me out, but I had a little HP left. And I throw a Dynamic Punch. I think he might have gotten some, missed some bubbles on that Dynamic Punch, or would have KO'd me. But also, I had a Metacham with Psychic ready. So the next round is going to be M23 Falcon. He's running Mawile, Dusknoir, Poliwrath, Alolan Marowak, Claydol, and Steelix. Dusknoir as a interesting pick. So I was studying his team. I want to lead with Steelix and have Poliwrath and Alolan Marowak in the back. Steelix is a good lead. Has relatively good matchups against a lot of his Pokemon. And also the mirror match, which ends up happening. Golden Steelix versus my regular Steelix. So here we're just Dragon Tailing away. I'm gonna charge up to the Earthquake, and then I'm just gonna throw the Crunch trying to bait. You probably know that I'm up to Earthquake too. So he decides to shield. I'm gonna decide to shield because I have the energy advantage right now. Gonna farm up to the Earthquake here to bank that in and switch into Poliwrath here. It's gonna be a Crunch, and he switches into Dusknoir here. I'm just gonna throw Ice Punches because Dynamic Punch will be resisted. Not really sure what the moveset of Dusknoir because I never faced one. I thought maybe possibly it's gonna be Psychic, but it's an Ominous one. I'm gonna throw another Ice Punch here, and he's gonna decide to shield. And Hex, it gets to the Psychic really quick. He's gonna be throwing Psychic right here. And deleting my Poliwrath. I'm gonna throw back the Steelix in with the Crunch banked in, throwing the charge move. Taking out the Dusknoir. And in comes his Poliwrath. I was checking what I had in the back. I'm gonna go for the Earthquake. I really like how they did the animations on the Earth-type charge moves on the bottom. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but relatively good for iPhone users. The charge moves used to be in the bottom, which you would just swipe out of your game accidentally. So it's really nice that they put it out a little higher up. So here he used an Ice Punch on my Alolan Marowak. I just finish it off with Fire Spin. And I used the Shadow Ball here. Thinking I'll do a lot of damage, which it does. I'm trying to farm it down with Fire Spin, but unfortunately I don't get off the last Fire Spin, which would have taken it out. This was such a close game. I was thinking if I used Double Bone Club would have been better, but I believe Shadow Ball does more damage overall than the two Bone Clubs. Here comes game number... this is game number 2. I think I want to use Probopass here to surprise him a little. Not sure. I think I'm still gonna lead with. I think this game number 2, I'm gonna lead with Poliwrath because he led with Steelix. the last game. Yeah, for some reason I really like Probopass, but I ended up not using him in this game. I was really debating on it. So Poliwrath with Steelix and Alolan Marowak in the back. Poliwrath into his Steelix, which is a very favorable matchup for me. He's gonna immediately switch into Dusknoir. I'm gonna throw the Ice Punch. And then I'm gonna immediately switch into my Steelix. And whatever he throws at me, I know Steelix can tank, either Ominous Wind or Psychic. He does Ominous Wind here. I'm gonna throw a Crunch, he's gonna shield. So in this position, I'm feeling very comfortable. I got him switch locked in. He's gonna throw Psychic, I don't need to shield at all. I believe Ominous Wind and Psychic does about the same, maybe Psychic a little more. But Ominous Wind would be more energy efficient. So I probably didn't need to shield here, but I want to keep my Steelix alive for the Crunch to finish it off. And I'm up 3 Pokemon versus his 2 Pokemon of 1 shield each. I saw Poliwrath pop in, but then his Steelix popped in, so I wasn't really too sure what Pokemon was out. I didn't read the top right yet, but I threw a Crunch, which used the shield, which is good, because if I used Earthquake I would have used up more energy, but my Steelix got deleted anyway. So I shield the Earthquake from this invisible Steelix. I'm gonna throw the Dynamic Punch to KO it. KO the invisible Steelix. Poliwrath comes in, trying to get to Dynamic Punch. Unfortunately, I do not. And oh, very clutch. I have 1 HP left. I'm gonna be able to throw in the Dynamic Punch, and I'm gonna immediately switch into Alolan Marowak so he can't farm me down for more energy. He does get to the charge move before I can get to the Bone Club to finish him off, but it's fine. Ice Punch or Dynamic Punch won't KO Alolan Marowak. And I'm just gonna throw the Bone Club to finish him off. And that will take game number 2. And here comes game number 3. Speeding up a little bit. I believe I'm gonna lead with Poliwrath and have Dusclops as a safe switch and Steelix in the back. I take way too long picking out teams usually because I'm studying my opponent on my iPad, their teams, and deciding what to pick. I like having 2 different devices so I can look at teams on separate on the iPad and choosing my team on my phone. Find it helpful looking at 2 different screens. I don't know about you guys. So Poliwrath into Claydol, he did predict me. It's not. I do immediately switch into Dusclops. He's gonna switch into Steelix, which is perfectly fine. I already had a Fire Punch ready when he came in. So I'm gonna throw that charge move. And I'm gonna get to... I got to the Fire Punch, but I couldn't throw it out. I'm gonna tank this Crunch. No need to shield. And doing another super effective Fire Punch. And I'm gonna get to another Fire Punch. This should KO Steelix if he doesn't decide to shield. So he just decided to shield. He's gonna use a Crunch. I'm gonna let the Dusclops go and reserve my 2 shields. He emptied out his energy, so now I can bring in my Poliwrath and bubble it down. And this is looking good for me. 2 shields up, 2 Pokemon against his 1 shield and 2 Pokemon. He brings in Claydol. I'm gonna throw an Ice Punch to do super effective damage. He does burn his last shield. I'm gonna switch into Steelix. This is gonna be an Earth Power, so I'm gonna use my first shield. And he's gonna immediately switch into Poliwrath here. I'm gonna throw the Earthquake, do a lot of damage to Poliwrath. And he's gonna get to the Dynamic Punch. I'm gonna throw up my shield because I know I can farm him down with just fast attacks. And then I have a Crunch ready for his Claydol, which is gonna be doing super effective damage. And these Confusions are being tanked. He is gonna get to the Earth Power. And Poliwrath here, I'm just tapping. I was making sure he's lagging too, because at some scenarios, the animation is going off on one end, and I could be deleted for all I know, and I didn't want that to happen. And I'm gonna take game number 3. Thanks for the matches, M23 Falcon. Game number 3, I couldn't get the full footage. I only got part of it right here. RXPTBR Reptar, as I like to call him. He's a super good trainer. He beat me all 3 games, which is embarrassing. But he's probably the hardest trainer I fought in this cup. Or actually in my community in general. He does always have really solid teams, super meta. We were running basically the same 2 Ghosts, 2 Fighters, and 2 Tanks. First game we played out with a very balanced team with good synergy. Second game we both played double tanks. He is the superior tank, Bastiodon, versus my Probopass, so he did win that one. And then I come in with 2 fighters versus his 2 tanks, and he still whoops me. So this is a super good trainer. I definitely like battling with him. There is room for improvement for me when I battle him. So we definitely have some of the best matchups, and yeah, it's, as you can see, 2 fighters here. I'm still losing. So dynamic punching the Bastiodon, he does KO my Poliwrath, and my Steelix is gonna go down really hard because he's gonna bring his own Steelix and just actually, he's got to throw the flamethrower first. And he's going to switch into Steelix, so I can't farm down the Bastiodon. And he does get to the Earthquake first. I don't think I would have won even if I did get to the Earthquake first. So those were really good games, Reptar. Thank you for the matches. I hope to battle with you again in the future cups. You definitely do give me some of the toughest matches, and thank you. And game number 4, I'm up against Kim101307, my girlfriend. We usually battle a lot. So her team comp is going to be Probopass, Claydol, Alolan Marowak, Poliwrath, Bennett as a wild pick, and Steelix. Bennett is really good. It's basically a Haunter without the subtyping of Poison. So I'm going to lead with Probopass into his Steelix. Not looking too good for me because none of my attacks are going to do a lot of damage to Steelix. I'm going to charge up to a Rock Slide and switch into Poliwrath. And she's going to switch into Alolan Marowak, which is perfectly fine as long as I avoid the Shadow Balls. Ice Punch here, not doing a lot of damage, but just chipping away with Bubbles and Ice Punch. And do another Ice Punch here. She decides to shield that one. This is going to be a Shadow Ball, so I'm going to throw up a shield. And I'm just going to try to bubble away and throw one more Ice Punch. I love Poliwrath, he gets to Ice Punch really quick. And here, I was counting, definitely wasn't 7, so it was a Bone Club. 7 Fire Spins into Shadow Ball, so I remember that number. Gotta throw Dynamic Punch here, reaching the Excellent, hitting the Poliwrath here, switching into Dusclops as my safe switch. Not gonna have to shield because Ice Punch or Dynamic Punch won't do a lot of damage to Dusclops. And I throw out Shadow Punch here, and she decides to tank it with a Steelix, which was a good play. And here comes a Crunch. And I'm not able to get to the Fire Punch. Decided to throw up a shield, which probably shouldn't have. Gotta throw my Fire Punch here, doing super effective damage, but Steelix is a tank, so it doesn't really do too much. Gotta switch into my Poliwrath here. I'm gonna get to... I'm gonna use an Ice Punch because Steelix has very little HP left, which does take it out. I didn't want him to crunch me, and I'm able to get to another Ice Punch onto her Poliwrath. This won't KO it. And then I bring in my Dusclops to almost had it. One more Hex would have done the job, but she does get off an Ice Punch. And then my Probopass is just gonna come in and Spark. And that takes game number 1. And in game number 2, I'm gonna be leading with Poliwrath in the back, Alolan Marowak, and Steelix. Very balanced team. And Poliwrath into her Alolan Marowak, which is perfectly fine. I like this matchup because Bubble is going to be doing super effective damage to Alolan Marowak's fire typing. Gonna throw up the shield here. Is a Shadow Ball. I'm gonna farm up a lot of energy here. This is gonna be a Bone Club most likely, and I didn't want to spend my last shield. And I'm gonna throw an Ice Punch here, trying to put on pressure of deleting the Alolan Marowak or using a shield. And here I just delete it with some bubbles, having a lot of energy banked in, looking very good in my position with 3 Pokemon 1 shield versus her 2 Pokemon 1 shield. I'm gonna throw an Ice Punch here, doing super effective damage to Claydol and switching out into Alolan Marowak. And she's gonna switch into Steelix, which is perfectly fine. Alolan Marowak versus Steelix is not too bad. I'm gonna throw out a Shadow Ball here, and she does take it. I decide to shield here so I can throw the Bone Club to finish off the Steelix. And she decides to shield. I'm trying to feint it down with some fast attacks, which I do. And in comes the Claydol here with Earth Power. It's gonna delete my Alolan Marowak. And here comes my Steelix here. I'm gonna get to the Crunch and throw the Crunch to finish off the Claydol. Just bite through it with Crunch. Ha 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 ha. And that takes game number 2, and we are going into the 3rd game. And I'm going to lead with Poliwrath, with Dusclops, and Steelix in the back. I really used Poliwrath a lot in this tournament. I really liked him. I gotta say he's MVP against a lot of people's teams. Poliwrath into Steelix, very favorable matchup for me. So here I'm just bubbling away, get into a charge move. I want to get to my Dynamic Punch, which I do. I'm gonna Dynamic Punch to do a lot of damage or force a shield. She decides to shield. And then switching into Banette. I'm gonna throw the Ice Punch here. Banette's rather squishy, so this will do relatively pretty good amount of damage. And then I switch into my Steelix. This is most likely going to be a Shadow Ball. And Banette's Shadow Ball does a lot of damage compared to a lot of other Shadow Ball users, I feel. Haunter does more, but Banette does a lot of damage. It kind of surprised me. So she's going to throw a Crunch. And I'm gonna shield just so I can throw my Earthquake to force a shield or to take out the Steelix. And she decides to shield, which was the right play. And here I know I can't get to an Earthquake, so I'm just gonna throw a Crunch to do as much chip damage as I can. Actually, I probably could have got to the Earthquake from here. Unless she was farming me down. And here I come in with Poliwrath. I'm gonna shield whatever she throws at me. There's a Crunch. I'm gonna delete it with some bubbles. And then I have a Dynamic Punch ready for the Probopass. And that will take game number 3. Thank you for the battles, Kim101307. So that concludes the tournament. First place got their choice of a $15 gift card, Apple iTunes, or the Google Play Store. And second place was me, so I got a choice of a plushie. I got my Gengar plushie here. Thank you M23 Falcon for hosting the cup. I love battling with you guys. Hope to see you guys more in the future with all these cups coming in season 2. Super excited. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, notification bell, it'll be great, helpful for my channel. Also subscribe to my social media, Chidorichu at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And I'll see you in the next video, trainers. Goodbye.